Hi, I'm Jules from Bunny Bakery. Today I am showing you how to make my vanilla custard cake. This is one of the oldest recipes on my blog and it has been made by people all over the world for years, so it's been highly requested to have a video tutorial of it. This is a really lovely, soft, delicate vanilla cake, and we're going to be using a homemade pastry cream to make custard buttercream and have a lovely custard filling in the cake as well. If you're going to make this cake, you want to prepare the pastry cream in advance so it has to cool down and let those flavors kind of infuse a little bit before you use it in the cake. So I'm going to show you right now how to make the actual cake layer, and then later on I will show you the custard buttercream. So the ingredients for the cake, this is my French vanilla cake recipe. It is just so soft and wonderful. It has a really fine crumb, and we're going to use the reverse creaming method, which I'll talk about in a little minute. But for the ingredients, we have unsalted butter, large eggs, whole milk, vegetable oil. I'm using cake flour. The cake flour just makes it just a little bit more tender, but it's not necessary. If you can't find cake flour, you can absolutely just use all-purpose flour and just use a 1-to-1 ratio there. I have some white sugar, salt, vanilla extract, and baking powder. All right, let's get started. So the very first thing you're going to do is split the milk into 2 different containers. We're going to add the liquids in 2 separate parts, and I want to separate them now just so that I don't get confused later. So I'm going to take roughly half a cup of the milk and put it into another container. And then to the container with the half a cup of milk, I'm going to pour in the vegetable oil. And then to the rest of the milk, I'm just going to add the eggs and the vanilla. It's always best to crack your eggs into a separate bowl first, just in case you do get any shells or anything in there. You don't want to mess all of the eggs up by having one broken shell. So I'm just going to mix this just to break up the eggs and have it a little more homogeneous. Place the flour, sugar, baking powder and salt into the bowl of the stand mixer with a paddle attachment fitted and turn the mixer on low speed. Slowly add the butter 1 chunk at a time. Once it's all incorporated, it should look kind of like chunky breadcrumbs. This is the beginning of the reverse creaming method. It starts by putting the fat into the dry ingredients. Slowly turn the milk and oil mixture into the batter and turn the mixture up to medium speed. Beat it for exactly 2 minutes. This is how we're going to develop the gluten in a controlled way, and this is going to make sure that the cake stays really nice and soft. Scrape down the sides of your bowl to make sure there are no lumps, then turn the mixer back down to low speed. Add the milk and egg mixture and stir it just until it's combined. You really don't want to overmix this batter. Divide the cake batter into 2 cake pans and bake for 30 to 40 minutes or until a skewer inserted in the middle comes out clean. Let the cakes cool in the pan for at least 30 minutes before removing them and letting them cool completely on a cooling rack. Okay, my cakes have completely cooled. Now we can start getting them ready to be filled and frosted. If you want to, you can just do this as 2 layers. That's still delicious and wonderful. But I quite like cutting these into 4 thinner layers just because you get more of a balance between the frosting and the filling and the cake, and I think it just looks a little bit more delicate. So I'm going to cut each of these in half. It's called torting the cakes. And also, if you have any kind of dome on your cakes, you can just go ahead and cut those off right now. You can just use a serrated knife for this, but this thing is the most underrated tool in my kitchen, honestly. This is a cake leveler, and it's kind of just like a little wire that we're going to use to cut across the cakes. And because you can choose the height on the side, it means that it keeps it completely level and flat. So if you want that really professional finish, this is the way to go. Such a good tool, really affordable, and I'm going to use that yourself. Okay, we're ready to make the custard buttercream. So as I said before, I made the pastry cream in advance. You want to do that so it has time to get nice and chilled. The recipe for the pastry cream here, you're actually going to want to split that into 2 different lots because we're going to use the pastry cream, the same one, for the filling and to make the buttercream. So probably about an hour before you make the frosting, maybe as your cakes are cooling, you want to take 2/3 of the pastry cream out of the fridge and let it come to room temperature. And you want to take your butter out of the fridge at the same time so that can also come to room temperature. It's really important that everything is the same temperature so that it mixes together nicely, otherwise the buttercream might curdle. So custard buttercream is actually pretty basic. We've got our pastry cream, we've got our butter, And then alongside that, I also have just a little bit of powdered sugar and some vanilla extract, and we're going to add a pinch of salt as well. The powdered sugar just adds that little touch of sweetness. This is quite flexible, so if you want it sweeter or less sweet, you can absolutely adjust the amount of powdered sugar or even leave it out entirely if you want to. Place all the butter into your stand mixer with the whisk attachment fitted. Whisk it on high speed for 5 full minutes until it's really thick and pale. Make sure that every now and again you scrape down the sides of the bowl just to mix it all together. Add the room temperature pastry cream to the whipped butter 1 tablespoon at a time until it's completely added, whipping a little in between additions. It's really important not to do this too quickly or the ingredients won't emulsify properly and your buttercream might split. Once all the pastry cream is added, you should have a really thick, beautiful, glossy frosting. Add a dash of vanilla and a pinch of salt and mix those in. Then add the powdered sugar and whip it for a few more seconds until it's completely combined, and admire your gorgeous smooth buttercream. Okay, we have all of our elements, so we're ready to assemble our custard cake. We have our cooled cake slices, our custard buttercream, and I also take that reserved custard out of the fridge as well, so this will be nice and cold. We're going to use this as our filling. So I'm just going to take one of the cake layers and pop it onto your cake plate. And you want to just grab some of that custard buttercream. And we're going to spray it out on the cake. So this is where I'm going to use some of this custard as a filling in the middle. Because I'm doing 4 layers, I like to do frosting and then a layer of filling and then frosting, and so you just have that like right in the middle layer. Obviously the custard is quite liquidy, we don't want it oozing out the sides. So we're actually just going to pipe a border of the buttercream around the outside, and that's going to contain the filling. I had a star tip on here because I'm going to use this to pipe some rosettes on at the end. Doesn't have to be, you can just use a Ziploc bag and cut a hole in the end of it, that works fine too. And we're just going to pipe a border around the outside. And I'm just going to put a little bit in the middle so it has something to stick to. And so this is going to act like a dam for our filling. We're going to take that cold custard and we're going to pour it into there. And this is why it's important that it's cold. It just holds its shape better. It's not going to ooze out too much. And what I like to do is put like roughly half of the custard filling in here. And then I like to use the rest on the top, just so you can really see what it is. But you don't have to. You can do it however you like. And then we're going to get our next cake layer on top. Make sure it's nice and level. And just repeat the same thing again with the buttercream. Alright, get the last layer on top. And we have our beautiful cake layers. So now you can decorate this however you like. There is enough frosting in this recipe that you could do a full thick layer of frosting everywhere. You can leave it naked like this. Sometimes I like to do kind of like a semi-naked look, but you just want to pop this on however you like. I'm gonna do just a little bit of a thin layer around the sides. Okay, so I have just roughly put a layer of frosting all over this. You can keep going, make this nice and smooth. You can do like a nice pattern on the side, whatever you like. Just however you want it to look. But for speed purposes today, I'm just gonna leave this like this for now. What I like to do then is actually take some of that extra buttercream, and I'm gonna pipe some little rosettes around the top, kind of to make a dam like we did in the middle. And then I'm going to pour some more of that custard filling in the middle to make like a pool of custard on top. And now we're just going to pour this custard into the middle there. How good does that look? There's no doubt that it's a custard cake, right? Just tease it into the edges. And this will naturally kind of like flatten itself out and go nice and smooth. Okay, I'm mostly happy with that. Like I say, you can decorate it however you like, but I'm just gonna finish this off with some little chocolate sprinkles on these rosettes just for a little bit of detail. So that is the finished Viola custard cake. Isn't she a beauty? I'm very excited about this. Funny story, the first time I made this and put it on the blog post, the next day my husband proposed to me. So I'm claiming this is like a proposal-inducing cake. It's that good. But let's cut into it and see how she tastes. Oh my gosh, look at those layers. Look at these gorgeous layers. You can see the custard buttercream is silky smooth. You've got that custard filling on the inside and on the top. This is honestly, if you love custard, this is going to be your new favorite. All right, I have to try this. Oh, did you see how soft that cake is? That's because of that reverse creaming method. It's just like so tender. That's a really big bite, but this is okay. So beautiful, like all the different textures. It's soft and silky, and that vanilla really comes through. It's just honestly a custard lover's dream. So that is finally my vanilla custard cake. Honestly, one of the most loved recipes on the blog, so I'm really happy to finally be able to show you a video of it. It's so good. It can seem a little bit daunting because there are a few different elements to it, but as you just saw, they're actually quite simple and easy to come together. So this is a really wonderful dessert for like a special occasion or a birthday or anything. Normally, I would never tell you to put a cake in the fridge because it dries it out, but because we have that fresh pastry cream in here, you want to make sure that this goes in the fridge in an airtight container. And it should be good like that if it lasts for up to 5 days, but any more than that, it might kind of start to get a little bit dry. I'm gonna go make a cup of tea and finish the rest of this slice. Thank you so much for watching. The full recipe with all the measurements is in my blog post, which I'll link in the description below. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Otherwise, I'll see you next week for another bake. Happy baking!